Hello and welcome to another edition of the Osceola Seminole Sidelines. We are coming to you from downtown Jacksonville, Florida, where Rivals is hosting their five-star event for 2 days, where they are hosting 104 of the best prospects from the classes of 2025 and 2026. And I am joined today by Jerry Kutz and Nick Carlisle. And guys, there's been an awful lot of activity in Jacksonville today, and we will get to that. But the real news has taken place really back in Tallahassee and even to a greater extent in the state of Georgia, particularly North Georgia, where Florida State in the last 24 hours has nailed down the commitment of defensive tackle Kevin Wynn and wide receiver. Shocking development today with the commitment of wide receiver C.J. Wiley. And then, of course, we're going to recap day one here in Jacksonville, and we'll be here tomorrow as well as these 104 prospects. We'll go through some drills tomorrow at the Jacksonville Jaguars training facility. But let's go to Nick first. Nick, you were the first on our team to alert us of what was going on with Kevin Wynn on Sunday morning in Tallahassee. You were posted outside of the College Town area where some of the prospects were finishing their official visits. And I got a text from you that says, I just saw Kevin Wynn give Adam Fuller a big hug. I think we got a commitment on our hands. He comes out of the restaurant. I think they were at Madison Social. I'm not sure. And told you guys, obviously there was other recruiting services there, that he had committed. And that he wanted to keep it quiet. And, of course, I was very surprised that all three sites did, but we did. But just talk a little bit about what Kevin told you. I think you interviewed him after on his way out on Sunday after he met with Coach Mike Norvell. But just talk a little bit about Kevin, who became the fifth commitment for Florida State at the time.
Yeah, Kevin's been a guy that Florida State has been in on first for a lot of things. First school to offer him, first school to bring him on for a game day visit, first school to have his family visit. So Florida State has been in on Kevin Wynn and been on with him for a while. Now, the worry was, from the Florida State standpoint, is Georgia going to be able to pull him away from the Seminoles? And they definitely made a strong push. But, in talking to Kevin Wynn, it just seemed like this was the right time for him to pull the trigger for the Seminoles. He said that originally he was going to wait for a little while. That's always been his thing, is that he was going to wait until later in July. But, after being able to sit on campus and or attend campus and be able to see the rest of all the things outside of football, it was ultimately what sold him that Florida State was where he wanted to spend the next 3 to 4 years of his collegiate career.
Yeah, and obviously the first interior defensive tackle Florida State has gotten to commit to the 2025 class and beat out some programs like Georgia for Kevin. And, listen, he's an interesting guy off the field. Jerry, I know you're kind of enamored with his story, not only as a football player, but as an aspiring chef.
Yeah, he's a personable kid, very easy to talk to, very talkative, and yeah, he definitely wants to be a chef. And we heard from the Georgia site, they've been covering him since the 9th grade, and they were telling us what a passion he has for being a chef. So he is a serious kid. Will major in either nutrition or one of the food sciences.
Yeah, but a big run stopper. I'm sure he won the cooking competition this past weekend in Tallahassee. They have one every weekend for the official visit. So, listen, it was a big, not really a surprise. We sat on it for almost 28 hours, and I know towards yesterday afternoon, the days are starting to run together in June. We've been all over the place between camps and official visits, and now Jacksonville. But I think we got a text sometime yesterday where Kurt's saying it's Kevin Wynn's still committing because we were expecting it sooner rather than later, because based on what he told us, he was just waiting on some official visit photos to be sent to him, and then he wanted to use those for social media. So, a big day for Florida State and Odell Haggins. I know Odell actually tweeted it out as well, retweeted, and you don't see much from Odell on Twitter. And then really the news of the day, and Nick and I were sitting here having a discussion about C.J. Wiley when it happened in Jacksonville. Nick said, listen, what happens if And so Nick started writing the shell for his commitment. And next thing I know, Nick's got earplugs in his earphones in his ears, and he yells out, Wiley's committed to Florida State. And we were sitting right across from the Georgia Network guys, Rivals Georgia site, all 5 of them. I think their jaws hit the ground over the last 24 hours, depending on who you talk to, or last 40 hours, I should say, because these conversations started outside of Moore Center between the recruiting services on Sunday. This was a huge surprise. Everyone thought Florida State was third in line for Wiley, that it was going to be Georgia or LSU, and depending on who you talk to, some people thought it was ultimately going to be LSU because his father, Chuck, was an outstanding football player for LSU, went on to have a nice career in the pros, and I believe his mom ran track there, if I'm not mistaken, but she was an athlete. And then, of course, there was a lot of the noise, the rumor mill stuff was that Georgia had made a significant push to lock him down. Just talk about how surprised you guys are with it, and then we're going to add some context to his commitment because there were some things that you need to pay attention to as move forward with that recruitment.
I mean, I was tremendously surprised. I mean, I think we all were. It wasn't just the Georgia site's jaws that were down on the ground. Our jaws were on the ground too. And I don't know what to tell you, Pat. I must be one with the force or whatever, because I was like, well, what if there is a chance? As I sat there, waiting for him to make his announcement, and sure enough, he did. And we kind of perceived it like everybody else. And that's what makes this so shocking, is that pretty much everybody around the country felt like it was either going to be LSU or Georgia. And coming into this weekend, Florida State was a pretty clear third in this recruitment, right? To where we knew that Ron Dugans and Mike Norvell were going to have a spectacular weekend in order to pull CJ Wiley out of the middle of Georgia, where obviously there's probably a lot of people pushing him more towards the Bulldogs, right? So it was tremendously surprising. His quotes after probably don't make Florida State fans feel too good about this, but in terms of what this commitment means and how long Florida State has to go in order to be able to have him sign those papers. But it's a huge shock, and if this ends up holding, this is a really huge win for this recruiting class, because you look at him and he could be a couple years down the line, obviously, but somebody that looks like exactly like the frame of a Keon Coleman.
Well, and he's a long guy. He's got elite. He's got track speed. He's got great hands. I don't know if you haven't had a chance to go to Huddle and watch CJ's highlights. They're very impressive. And listen, this takes on bigger meaning because, the rumor around here today is that Josh Moore is going to commit to Florida. So that would be another guy off the board. It seems like it's 50-50 between Trey Brown and Florida or Florida State. Obviously, he's been very positive about both schools. And then, of course, you're still waiting on Dalen McCutcheon and Khalid Lockett, 2 kids out of Texas. Can you get those kids out of the Lone Star State, away from Texas and Texas A&M? And I think Dalen's got Georgia and Ohio State as well. So that was a big domino to fall. And listen, Jerry, I want you to chime in because you believe that there's some reasons why maybe we're reading too much into what the kid said. He did say in my opinion, made it very clear that he said, my recruitment is still open. I'm committed to Florida State for now. I haven't signed anything. But Jerry, I want you to expound on why you think that maybe we're reading too much into that. Or
yeah, the publisher from the Georgia site walked over to me, and he shared with me that quote seems that I haven't signed any papers yet. And it's sort of a conditional commitment, if you will. He said, I think you owe it to your readers to put it into context that this is a very quiet kid. He doesn't say a lot. He's very private. And that he's in the middle of Georgia. He's got classmates that want him to commit to Georgia. He's got the Georgia alumni all over him, and that quote may be a bigger commitment than it appears for him to go public at this point. So he thought that it might mean more than it actually sounds like when you read the quote. And I want to offer this too. You know, Pat, back in the day when your dad was coaching and when you were working in this business, there weren't a lot of commitments that were taken in June
No.
that you expected to last until February.
Yeah.
You know, heck, we didn't take commitments from recruits until January for a February signing.
Yep.
And it was tough to hold them for those 6 weeks.
Yeah, and that is the weird thing about the recruiting. You're right, because back in the old days, you brought in everybody in December and January, and they signed the first Wednesday in February. And now, you would not think that moving the National Signing Day, they move it up 3 weeks. It used to be the Wednesday before Christmas for the last couple of years. Now it's December 4th, and it has really escalated the official visit process, which has escalated the commitment process. And we're expecting a ton of commitments, not just from CJ, but a lot of these kids. They had 19 kids in this past weekend, most of which are probably going to commit sometime in July or August. So, as we put in our analysis, if you go to the Osceola.com and read our analysis on CJ, obviously, Mike and Ron Dugans and Alex Atkins got to get into the finish line, but don't go and bar trouble, right? He's committed today. He's going to probably be committed tomorrow. Don't bar trouble right now. You can take that on when he gets there. And I think the good news for Florida State, and I'm sure you may agree, you may not agree, but they know who they're fighting against, right? They know this is who they've got to ward off is Georgia and LSU. It sounds like pretty much like that's where the kid is at. A big win for him.
Let me add this. It feels a heck of a lot better than that he committed to LSU.
Yes. Yeah, don't go bar trouble. That's right. Because, listen, his dad played at LSU, as we've talked about, and that one might be a little harder to unseat than, he might have a harder time going to say, Dad, I'm going to flip back to Florida State from your alma mater. But, listen, things like this get some momentum going on Florida State's recruiting cycle for 2025. We know Tavion Wallace and Greg Thomas are getting ready to commit to somebody. I think Thomas commits on June 30th. We're predicting Florida State. Tavion commits on June 2nd. We're predicting Florida State. So I think we're really starting to see this class roll. And we'll see what happens from here. But let's go. I know we got to try to keep this short. So let's talk about today. We're in Jacksonville, all three of us. We're here for the big Rivals 5-Star Camp, 104 of the best players in the country from 2025 and 2026. Guys, we saw a bunch of nice-looking kids come in. We had a chance to sit there and talk to them. I think you talked to Shamar. I know, Nick, I believe that's correct. Shamar is going to commit to somebody tomorrow here at this event, and it's going to be FSU, Georgia, Auburn, USC, or Kentucky. I'm going to let you tell the audience what he told you when you asked him what was on his mind this morning.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't want to say it's weird when you ask a kid, what he's thinking just a couple of days after you've already seen him and asked him what he's thinking. But, I asked him, just how did that Florida State official visit resonate with you? And have you been able to make up your mind in the 24 or so hours since you left that official visit? And he said, well, Florida State has definitely been on my mind, but I still don't know, where I'm going, and I probably won't know until I sit down. So just judging by that, if Florida State's at the front of the brain, you have to feel good about where Florida State stands for him. I believe that Fish does have a future cast in favor of Florida State for Shamar, so take that for what you will. But just based on what he said, you got to feel good about where Florida State is, and we'll find out tomorrow. If the Seminoles can pull a quick turnaround, because Florida State was not in the picture a little less than a month ago. So but they're here now, Pat.
Yeah. Listen, he was at their elite camp a couple of Sundays ago and went toe-to-toe with a couple of really good receivers, including Darion Williams, who's committed to Florida State for 2026 and is a phenomenal-looking prospect himself. But Shamar certainly held his own. I'm going to try to put it in my future cast probably by tomorrow morning. Kind of want to go to see what the hubbub is around the hotel tonight, but that would be another big get for Florida State.
See if there's some loose lips.
That's right, buddy. Those beers will be flowing, and so will the trash talking. So we will see. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, listen, we did talk to Jarquez Carter, defensive tackle from Newberry. He was scheduled to come in to Florida State for an official visit this fall. That has been canceled. It looks like it's going to be Miami, Florida, or UCF for Jarquez. And we wish him the best of luck, but he right now has canceled his official visit to Florida State. That's one of the notes that came from this camp and or this event. And of course, one of the big storylines is, I want to hit this, Trell Jones is here, the Jacksonville Mandarin quarterback who's committed to Florida State. If you happen to read our interview from Trell coming out of his official visit, Jerry, I know you and Bob and I think that it's Florida State. He did say that he's going to make it clear, and the staff already knows what his decision is. It's hard for me to believe it's not anything but Florida State. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
I said to Nick, if that guy is pulling a fast one and going to flip to Florida, he's really good at it. And he needs to consider a career in the CIA.
Yeah.
He looks right in your face and he tells you all the right things, man.
Yeah, all his social media posts, he posted about as soon as CJ committed, he posted a picture of he and CJ at the official visit this past weekend. Never had a doubt. I would be shocked. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that, I asked him point blank, are you ready for this to be over today? And, I wasn't doing an interview. I was just kind of chit-chatting with him. And I think the whole – is it Florida State? Is it Florida? I think that's starting to wear on him, and I do think that he is ready to put it to bed. And we're thinking probably Friday, right, Nick? That
he was non-committal on the exact day, but he said probably sometime around Friday. And we got to talking and just small talk and just casually talking to him. And I think we can all feel very confident that while it looked a little bit iffy for a while, and certainly the commitment of Antoine Hill to Memphis kind of, for me at least, thickened that Trell flipping to Florida smoke, but after talking with for a while, I think we can all be very confident that he's going to stay with Florida State.
Yeah.
See, look, when I walked up on you were chit-chatting with Trell, and I think it's fair to say that he leaked to you what was about to come. That
is true. That is true as well. He did give a little bit of a forewarning on CJ, and I kind of took it and was like, I took it into account. But to be honest with you, with everything that we had heard outside, with the industry and where Florida State stood with Wiley, it was kind of hard to believe in the moment, but should have taken Trell's word for it.
Yeah, and just to add to what you guys are saying, Solomon Thomas kind of alluded to the same thing coming out of his official visit on Sunday, where he talked about, I'm excited for the other guys that are going to commit. So there were certainly some things that they were talked about behind the scenes. And I said it on Sunday. This is the quietest I've ever seen 19 kids coming out of the Moore Center. I think there are some secret commits, silent commits, and I think that's what Solomon was alluding to on Sunday, and I believe that's what Trell was probably alluding to with CJ. All right, so some other updates. Mad Max Buchanan is here. We got a chance to talk with Max briefly. Listen, he's going to make his commitment known on August 3rd. This is, in my opinion, a kid that Florida State led on early in his recruiting process, particularly before he started the official visits. And Max has enjoyed he started to really enjoy the recruiting process, and he's taken officials FSU, UCF, Miami, Ole Miss, Clemson, and Penn State. Ask him point blank today, is there a leader? And he said they're all on equal ground. He goes, I've had great experiences wherever I've gone. My opinion is this is going to come down more than likely to FSU and Clemson. I could be wrong. There could be an outlier there. I know he liked Miami. Obviously, UCF is close to his home in Sanford, and UCF's been recruiting at a high level. But I think this is on equal. I think everyone's on equal ground. I don't feel as good about Florida State landing Buchanan as I did. We'll see what happens. But he did say that it's almost everyone's kind of neck and neck right now. So we'll see there. Just a real quick note on Riley Pettyjohn, who is here, the 4-star linebacker from Texas. Originally had planned to come to Florida State for an official visit in June. Canceled that. I just quickly asked him. I said, "Listen, I know he's got a brother that goes to FAMU." I said, "There's any chance Florida State's going to get a official visit from you in the fall?" And he goes, "Right now, that's not the plan. I'm down to USC, Ohio State, and Texas." We'll come back on some 2026 kids as we get into camp or get into our second day of this review. We did talk to Hilton Stubbs, Drake Stubbs, who is committed to USC. Trell Jones' teammate. He's a safety, might be a linebacker in college. Listen, right now he's got a brother, Harold, that's a walk-on at Florida State. I just briefly asked Hilton. I said, "Hilton, I know you're committed to USC. Seems like it's a USC Florida thing for you. Is there any chance that you would take a fall official visit?" He goes, "Right now, that's not the plan, but you never know. Recruiting's kind of funny." And ironically enough, recruiting got really funny 4 hours later when CJ Wiley committed to the Noles. Nick's got an update on Jake Krull. We're not going to go through the 2026 guys tonight. We just want to get you updated on the 2025 guys. But we talked to Brady Schmeigel, the 2026 quarterback that committed to Florida State. We've got 6.5 minutes of one-on-one time with him. Nick, you talked to Devin Carter for a while, the Florida State legacy. I believe he's 2026 as well. Dexter Carter's son. So we've got that on the Osceola. If you go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com, we have a live thread. We have one-on-one interviews with I know Brady. Who else do we have? Byron Lewis. As far as we know, we are the only recruiting service now that has a post-Florida State official visit interview. As I got with Byron today, I said I had to chase you all the way to Jacksonville to get an interview for you. He said he snuck out the back door on Sunday. And he just said, "Listen," he goes, "Pat, I was tired." He goes, "I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to go home." He goes, "This has been a long process." So you can find out a little bit more about what Byron's thinking on his recruiting process. It looks like to me it's a FSU Georgia thing. We'll see how that pans out. But we got updates on him. We'll continue our live thread tomorrow. The kids will be working out. We'll get to see Trammell in action. We'll get to see Byron Lewis in action. We'll get to see Hilton Stubb. We'll get to see all these guys we want to see in person and see how they do against some of the best talent in the United States. But guys, as we quickly get ready to wrap up, I know as I said, brevity's not our thing. We're 10 minutes past our deadline for this. What was your big takeaway from today? What do you think of this event? As we ended up being a lot busier than we thought we were going to be when the day started. We didn't know what to make of it because we've never been to one of these. But what was your overall thought? Jerry, I'll start with you. What was your overall thought on the day?
I was really in awe of what Rivals put together here. This 4-star camp is first class. 5-star camp. They've got 104 kids here. They're all staying in this hotel. They've got a players' lounge for them. Tonight, the players are going out to Topgolf to play. Tomorrow, they'll be at the Jacksonville Jags Arena. Their workout facilities. Yep. The thing that impressed me, the relationship building that's happening between the players themselves and between the players and the Rivals analysts, the site, each of us in our sites and our staff, the three of us, we got to have the opportunity, like Pat said, to talk to a kid for as long as we wanted one-on-one. So you could develop an interview. I got to go back to 1990s to where I could talk to a kid uninterrupted by another member of the media for 7 minutes. How often do we get to do that?
Almost never.
And so the thing, and I keep saying it, I've said it to you guys over and over, I am so impressed with the quality of the student athlete today. These kids have, these are the best of the best. And I'm talking to one kid today, he's 15 years old. And I'm like, I thought he was like 16 or 17, which is crazy. Yep. But it turns out his father is was Pat. It was Simeon at Bowles. His father
Simeon Caldwell, Mike Caldwell's son. Yes,
Mike Caldwell's son. His father's former defensive coordinator for the Jaguars. And I mean, these kids are so well prepared today compared to what they were in the 90s. It's just unbelievable to me.
Yeah. And listen, the other thing I liked about it is, you got the one-on-one time, and we sat down with several kids. I know you guys did several one-on-one lengthy interviews. I did as well. The other part I enjoyed about it, Jerry, is there was also some less formality with it, right? I mean, when those kids come out of the Moore Center, we are like them
vultures.
I'm not going to use the analogy I want to use, but anyway, there's four services. There's the recruiting services, the Tallahassee Democrat, all trying to get a piece of these kids, and it was fun just to be able to take Max Buchanan over to the side and have a casual conversation with him where you weren't recording it, you were just talking to the kid. You could get some tidbits from him, and we did that with a lot of kids, right? If you go to our thread, which is on at theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com, you will see where we were able to just have these informal conversations where you didn't have to try to get an answer from the kid. You just ask him some general questions, and I enjoyed that part of it. And of course, the other part of it I enjoy is getting a chance to talk to the guys from the other sites, and just like the CJ Wiley thing. And we go back to that one just real quick. We got a text from Kurt saying the Georgia site wants to know if Florida State's got anybody there, or if we had anybody from our site there, or if any other services were planning on sending guys there. And we were like, no, why would we do that?
Because he's going to commit.
Yeah. So anyway, but it was kind of funny. And, we had a good time last night talking with all the guys. And Nick, this is one of, I don't think Jerry and I either one have done anything quite like this, but we've been doing recruiting for a while. This is one of your first experiences as a mass recruiting event outside of the elite camp in Miami, but this is a totally different setup. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Sometimes when, at least in my little experience so far, about a year and a half of doing recruiting, it's very easy to see these kids as just football players or as names and faces. They come into the Moore for a visit. They come out. We learn about them. The good thing about the event is you get to see these kids for who they are. They're kids. They're kids that are working hard, trying to live out their dream, and you get to see a little bit more of the personality to them. You get to joke with them, talk about some of the things that you wouldn't be able to talk about in an interview where there's all 3 or 4, outlets or services that are trying to get answers for their subscribers and everything. So I really enjoyed the personal nature of it. Just getting to talk to kids and see what their personalities are. And I think that's what makes it special, is being able to discern, these kids for who they are and just get to learn more about them. So that's definitely the best part to me.
So one thing, let me just commend to Rivals by doing these 5-star camps. Well, the most important thing is it gives us, the site managers, the opportunity to provide you, the viewers, with good content. And so, thanks to Rivals for that. But the other thing, and I wrote a story about this today that's going up on the site tonight, is it's a unique opportunity for these 104 kids to get together and to be able to just hang out with each other and talk about things that they really don't have anybody in their friendship group back in their high school that's going through. I mean, these are elite athletes who have a big future in front of them. And what seems like the biggest decision they've ever had to make, right on top of them. And they get to talk to each other. And friendships are being formulated tonight, tomorrow, that'll last a lifetime.
Yep.
And I think that's invaluable for that they could network together like they can at these camps.
Oh, I guarantee you there's some networking going on. There's some guys trying to get some guys to flip. So there's definitely some network going on. So fun event, fun day, busy day. I want to thank Nick and Jerry for all their work today. It was I'm not going to say it was a long day. It went by pretty fast, but we did. There's a lot of content we got for our FSU fans and the Osceola.com subscribers. So please go to theosceola.com and check us out. A lot of the information we provided is in front of the paywall. We've got some information behind the paywall. So if you want to go to the Osceola and subscribe, you get our 7-minute interview with Brady Schmeigel, and he had some interesting things to say about his recruitment and why he chose Florida State so early in his recruiting process, and the impact that Mike Norvell and obviously Tony Tokar's played in that. Byron Lewis is an update behind the paywall. You can read our analysis of CJ Wiley and Kevin Wynn's commitments. That's in front of the paywall. But we will be back tomorrow as we head over to the brand new, beautiful Jacksonville Jaguars football facility. Get a chance to check out their indoor facility. It will be a fun day as we get to watch these kids compete. We will have video of these kids going through drills. We'll be posting those through the thread, but look forward to bringing you more coverage of the Rivals 5-star camp in Jacksonville tomorrow. And we'll sign off, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, Nick and Jerry, and hope everyone has a great night or rest of the day whenever you watch this. And we'll be back with more Seminole Sidelines throughout the week and coming months.